This is the Hyundai Palisade. The Korean brand's newest family SUV that is out to steal customers away from cars such as the Ford Explorer, Honda Pilot and Nissan Pathfinder. Like all new Hyundais, the Palisade has a funky design, impressive amounts of tech and a price tag that just seems too good to ignore. So let's jump right into it and take it for a drive. While almost all manufacturers seem to be getting rid of their big engines in favor of smaller turbocharged ones, Hyundai seems to have gone against the grain. This Palisade is powered by a mighty 3.8-litre V6 that doesn't use any turbos or any sort of forced induction to produce 295 horsepower and 355 Newton meters of torque. What those numbers mean is that the Palisade is more powerful than the Honda Pilot and Nissan Pathfinder, but just a little short of the turbocharged Explorer. Having said that, and although there are 7 different drive modes to choose from, including a sport mode, comfort is very much the focus with the Palisade. The suspension is soft, and the insulation from things like road and wind noise is much better than expected. For some of our more technical viewers, there's long been a debate whether the Palisade from Hyundai and the Telluride from Kia are essentially the same car. And while they do share a lot of components, they are positioned quite differently. The Telluride is the sportier off-road one, whereas the Palisade is the more city-oriented luxury SUV. Before moving on and telling you more about the interior and features of the Palisade, I'm sure there's some of you wondering why I've just done this entire section of the review without my hands on the steering wheel. And I've done so to prove a point. The adaptive cruise control system on this car is phenomenal and can easily be compared to cars that cost 2 to 3 times as much. Not only does it automatically brake and accelerate once you've set your desired speed, but also keeps you right in the center of the lane at all times. It takes small turns and is constantly monitoring its surroundings to prevent a crash. All of this without the need to keep your hands on the wheel. From an interior design and quality perspective, the Palisade is extremely impressive, and the designers have tried their level best to carve out as much space as possible, not just for the occupants but for their belongings as well. To better explain this point, let's look at just one area, which is this center console. They have got rid of a physical gear lever in favor of these smaller and neater buttons, and in doing so there's a huge storage box with 2 cup holders and a wireless charger. Behind that, there's another storage box with even more charging options. And just in case that wasn't enough, there's still more storage under the entire console. When it comes to the design, that is another job well done. There's plenty of leather and soft touch materials that are complemented by this nice light brown wood trim. Everything in the cabin looks and feels solid and well built, something that cannot be said about all its rivals, especially the Ford Explorer that we reviewed recently and whose review you can watch by clicking in the top right corner. In the back, it's great to see that Hyundai didn't cheap out, and the same great materials that have been used in the front have been carried over to the back as well. There's plenty of space thanks to seats that slide forward and backward as well as recline. There's independent controls for the AC system from those in the front, USB charging outlets, a 12-volt outlet, and a privacy shade. But by far the most impressive thing back here is something known as a rear seat alarm. Essentially, it's a safety feature that beeps every time you lock the car and start walking away to remind you that you've forgotten something in the back seat. It could be something as small as a laptop or something as valuable as a child. These things do happen, and it's great to see Hyundai doing their bit to prevent it. The third row offers enough space in terms of headroom and legroom, and even more so because the seat does recline. Those in the back get 4 cup holders, 2 USB chargers, and 2 AC vents. To better explain the features on the Palisade, I'm going to divide this section up into 2 bits. Features the Palisade has that most other SUVs have, and features the Palisade has that not a whole lot of other SUVs can offer. On the not-so-revolutionary side of things, there's a 10.25-inch touch infotainment screen with built-in navigation, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, dual sunroofs, memory seats that are heated and cooled, a 12-speaker Infinity audio system, and heads-up display. But now that we've got those out of the way, let's talk more about the features that really make the Palisade stand out. First up, driver talk and quiet ride. Driver talk essentially switches on a microphone above the front seats and carries the sound through the speakers to those in the back. It's great if you've got a noisy family or when you need to yell at the rowdy kids in the back. At the other end of the spectrum, quiet ride shuts off the speakers in the back and only plays music through those in the front. And I know you're probably thinking, well, when would I ever need to use that? And it's great when you're coming back from a road trip and have tired passengers in the back and don't want to disturb them by playing any music. From a safety perspective, the Palisade is equipped with blind spot cameras on both sides of the car that switch on each time you use your indicators. And it just makes changing lanes that much safer and easier. Speaking of changing lanes, many other cars in the market will offer you a frontal collision avoidance system. But the Palisade is one of the very few to offer you a blind spot collision avoidance system. And what that means is that if there is a car in your blind spot and you try changing lanes, the Palisade will prevent you from doing so. Finally, the Palisade is also fitted with lead vehicle departure, a system that monitors the car in front of you when stopped at things such as a traffic light and notifies you once it starts moving. So, if you're distracted either in your thoughts, eating or texting, you can move off without having to hear a symphony of horns from behind you trying to get your attention. The styling is by far the Palisade's most controversial side. While some people love it, others absolutely hate it, and I for one find myself stuck in between. Sure, there are a few nice touches like these long LED daytime running lights that seem to be cutting through the bodywork, LED headlights and functional air vents that divert air through to cool the brakes down. But on the whole, it is an acquired taste. The offbeat styling continues in the rear with the oversized LED tail lamps receiving a touch of silver mascara. But lift the tailgate open and the Palisade quickly redeems itself with 509 liters of storage space behind the third row, meaning it's bigger than all its rivals except the Ford Explorer. For added practicality, you can also control the opening height of the liftgate from this button here, and there's underfloor storage. At 194,000 dirhams, the Hyundai Palisade has a lot to give. It's got groundbreaking technology that not a lot of other SUVs can claim to offer. And if you cover the badge, it could easily pass off as being built by a far more premium manufacturer. But while the Palisade is undoubtedly better than all its other rivals, the question still remains. Are you willing to pay 194,000 dirhams for a Hyundai? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.